Now, I know what you guys are probably thinking. Jonas, you shouldn't be scared. It's a simple game. It's just a video game. It doesn't mean anything. But I don't think you realize what game I'm about to play here. This isn't just any video game. This is one of the scariest video games of all time. It has gone down in history as an absolute classic horror game that has terrified millions. And that game is... When Luigi's Mansion first came out, it took a lot of people by surprise, because instead of having Mario as the main character, it had Luigi. Just in my last review, we'll be covering over story, gameplay, graphics, and music, starting off with story. So, here we go. So Luigi's trying to find his house in the spooky and dark woods of Azkaban. And then he looks at the map, and it's like, this is where your mansion is. He's like, oh, cool, that's awesome. But then it's actually super spooky, and he's so afraid. And so he starts to walk up to the winding pathway of the mansion. And then these two crows, they're like, oh man, this guy's so dead. And then he starts to walk up to the mansion. It's so spooky. And if you look, there's actually a skull on the door to represent just how spooky it is. And then Luigi goes inside and he's like, hello? Because it's spooky. And then after this, Luigi sees a spooky spirit going around the room. But he sees Luigi and he gets spooked. So he runs away, but he drops his key to the door. But silly you, ghosts don't need keys because they're spooky spirits. And he goes to the door, it's so spooky. So then Luigi walks into the room and it's so spooky. And then the ghost scares him. This is actually a spooky part of the game. And then the little guy goes, I'm gonna catch you. But then the ghost says, silly you, I'm a spooky spirit. You can't catch me, I'm going to run away. And he keeps on chasing him. But then the ghost is mean. He punches the man in the face. He goes, man, that hurt very bad. The ghost laughs. And he leaves to go to his spooky house in the spook land. Then the little professor is all like, man, I really need some help. Because all these spooky spirits are in here. And it's all bad and I don't like it. So spooky. By the way, I'm not called Old Man. I'm actually called Professor Egad. It's a very spooky name, I know. Don't get scared. This part's spooky. And then he looks around the mansion. But then guess what he sees? 3 spooky spirits show up, but they go, oh, we're spooky spirits, and they have to run away from them. After this, Professor Egad gives us a little bit more exposition. He tells us about how the mansion only appeared a few days ago, and how someone had freed all of his portrait ghosts, which are basically the bosses of the game. I'll get into them later. And when he asks Luigi why he's there in the first place, Luigi tells Professor Egad that he won the mansion in a contest that he didn't even enter. So, Professor Egad tells him that the spirits had fooled him, and not only that, but Mario was probably captured, and that they had to go save him. But before he can do that, he needs to give Luigi a little bit of training first. After this, as you can probably guess, we get a small tutorial. And I gotta be honest, I really like this tutorial. It only teaches the thing that you don't know, aka fighting ghosts. Because everything else you probably should have already learned when you first walked into the mansion. But even if you didn't, they already gave you a small layout at the beginning of the tutorial. The only reason why they actually show you how to fight ghosts is partially because fighting ghosts actually does take skill and is more than just pressing a button over and over again to try to kill them. It's honestly a really great tutorial and pretty much sets you up for the rest of the game. After this, it's pretty much just skill from here on out. Now it's time to talk about the gameplay, and I gotta be honest, when it comes to fighting ghosts, although most of the time it is pretty fun, and they do enough to shake it up that most of the time you don't think they're doing the same thing over and over again, sometimes when they keep on throwing the same type of ghosts at you, it gets kind of annoying. It definitely doesn't do enough during massive fights with tons of just the same type of ghosts to make you think they're doing something different, but during boss fights, it's much better. Take, for example, the first boss fight, which is Chauncey. Now, while yes, when you're actually trying to suck him up, it's still the regular pull back on the joystick and hold the R trigger kind of a deal. his attacks add something completely unique to the table and shakes up the fighting style. All the boss fights are like this, and it definitely adds a lot more character to the game. Now, yes, some ghosts are also different, but still there's multiple different kinds of them, and they start to appear a lot more often, making it feel a lot less unique, which is why the bosses help shake it up so much. And keep in mind, these are just some of the major bosses. There are tons of mini bosses as well that do tons of unique things as well. This is why it helps to shake up the game so much, because once you start adding so much stuff, you never really feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again, because they keep adding variety and shaking it up, even if they're just putting some of the same things in different orders. Another major gameplay style of Luigi's Mansion is exploration. While you're in the mansion, you'll have to go around the mansion and find different rooms and defeat different bosses and such. Now, while yes, you will always be guided in the correct direction, you're never told explicitly where to go next, and you can basically do whatever you want. And this is one of the most fun aspects about the game. Just going around and sucking up ghosts and getting money. And money is also a very big component of Luigi's Mansion because it sort of gives you an incentive to suck up ghosts and complete rooms. There are some rooms that have ghosts in them that you don't even need to complete, but if you do, you'll get heaps of cash, which is a pretty good reward for the end game. Overall, the exploration aspect of Luigi's Mansion works perfectly, and definitely gives a really good way to keep people playing that doesn't just involve battling ghosts. The next type of ghosts that I want to talk about are the boos. Now, boos function differently to other types of ghosts. They only show up in the light and they're hidden. And unlike regular ghosts, which will stay locked onto your vacuum cleaner and just to make sure that you just pull back on the joystick and they'll stay, boos can pretty much have free roam, and you have to make sure that you follow them so they don't get away. Also, boos are pretty much essential to suck up. You need a certain amount of boos to actually get to the final boss of the game, so if you don't have the right amount, you can't get there. Also, if you suck up all the boos, you get a pretty hefty money reward, so it also kind of helps you out. So the thing about boos that I like is that they're just different enough, and they're also optional. And it sort of gives the player something else to do. So you can basically explore all the mansion again, go into all the rooms you completed, and try to get all the boos. Although, personally, I recommend just trying to get them while you're playing the game. It's a lot of effort to not get them and then have to go back, so I recommend trying to get them right after you finish a room, but really, you can do it any way you want. Now, one thing that I do have to criticize the game on is its runtime. It only lasts for about 3 to 5 hours. Well, 3 to 5 hours is not counting the 20 hours you're gonna spend fighting Colossus. Okay, I can hit him with the unicorn pretty easily, but then the last phase, the boos just go away and you can't even hit him with your ice thing. And when you finally do, it takes like 10 years, so you can't even get any of the cool pearls, and it's just stupid, and I hate it. Should have just taken the fight out of the game. Okay, you know what? I'm getting off track. Basic point, the game is just way too short for me. I'm not saying it needs to be like a year-long experience, but I don't know, maybe a good 10 hours would have been good for me. I do think, though, that just adding a few more rooms would have done the trick. It doesn't need to be like a whole new area, just a few more rooms, just to fight some ghosts, get some more money, but although you do need to recognize that Luigi's Mansion was more of a tech demo than it was an actual game, so even if you aren't exactly expecting a big experience, I at least think it could have been a bit longer. But, it does have a lot of replay value to it, though, so I guess that is one aspect it does sort of make up in. So, even though it is a criticism, it isn't a hefty criticism, so it still works out. And that pretty much wraps up my review of Luigi's Mansion. There just really wasn't a lot to talk about with this game. While it is pretty fun, it's just sort of hard to talk about for like 16 minutes. With Mario Odyssey, that's a lot easier, so I'm sorry this wasn't as long as a review. But hey, it works out. But, Luigi's Mansion games are pretty scary, and they've made 2 more. I might review them in the future, I don't know. But basic point, these games are terrifying. If you want true horror, that's the way to go. Well, whatever. Next time on this channel, I'm going to be reviewing Half-Life 3. See, it's a funny joke because I don't upload on this channel very often, so by the next time I upload Half-Life 3 will probably it's a funny joke. Anyways, thank you for coming by, and I'll see you all next time. What was that sound?
Wah! It was a me.
Luigi, what are you doing here?
I know all your secrets. You killed my brother, Mario. But your biggest secret of all, you are not who you say you are.
I'm not who I say I am. Dude, I'm Jonas. Like, I am Jonas Goldberg, the owner of the Jonas Goldberg channel that makes all the best content in the world, and you should subscribe to me if you're not subscribed already. But what's your point? I am Jonas. Who do you think I am?
Don't lie to me. You're not Jonas. You are a top hat man.
Well, I guess that you know that there's no turning back now. So I guess that it's a fight you want. But I'm willing to accept. It is indeed true. I am indeed Top Hat Man. I killed Mario and framed it as Jonas. The problem was that at the end of the video, I tried to say he'd went to jail so I could overtake his channel. The problem was that he somehow found a way to continue making videos. And so because of that, I killed him.
Oh,
Why are you laughing? What is it?
Oh, you know nothing. Jonas is not as dead as you think. I helped him escape. And now, your plan to overtake his channel is now ruined.
What? How could you do that? I was sure he was dead. Well, now you must pay.
Wow!
Tell me where he is right now, or you're going to regret it. I'll never tell you. Take these. Ah.
I better get out of here.
Get back here. Oh, I can't see him anymore. He's gone. Shoot, my plan has failed. Oh, great. Yes, I know. I failed. Trust me, it's gonna be okay.
Okay,
Listen, yes, I know this was a pretty bad failure. I've never failed this hard before, but let me tell you something. I've always been able to please you. My mission has always gone accomplished. I know this seems like a pretty bad setback, but don't worry. I can make it all right. My lord. Kringoon.
Do you like this? Do you like this? Well, no more.